Hey everyone, my name is David Dunbar, or the theme park evangelist. It's once again on Monday, and I do apologize. I normally do my live streams on uh the weekends, but there's just been so many crazy things going on the weekends, and this time, unfortunately, it was a personal thing. So, unfortunately, I couldn't. And you guys know, yesterday was Super Bowl Sunday, and I had to work the entire 8-hour shift, as annoying as it is. So, today was my earliest day I could get around to it, and even then, I'm still a little late getting around to it. But I got a little time. Katie's done at 10 o'clock tonight, which is great. So it's currently 9:36. This won't take long. This is another one of those quickies. Next Monday is President's Day, so next Monday I'm basically just working at the Creation Museum from 9 to 5, and then there is no Bible study. The other funny thing is next Monday, Katie is only working 10 to 6:30, and then she is off for the remainder of the day. Next week, Katie and I are off both next Sunday, this coming Sunday, and then next Friday. Next Friday, Ellie is finally coming home back to Kentucky after being out of state for quite some time. So we took the day off just to go pick her up from the airport. So that'll be nice. It'll be nice to have her back too, in more than one way. Trust me. But tonight I wanted to talk to you guys about some of my favorite memories. So reminiscing some of my favorite memories that when I traveled down to Central Florida and back in 2020 or all the way down all the way to last year 2022. So I wanted to I'm at 275 subscribers. I am not complaining about that. I'm definitely getting there. So I am going to take this opportunity, and I only need 25 more, and I'm at 300, to go ahead and I have another screen up right now, and I'm going to start going through, and I am going to mention, and I'm just going to start talking about some of my favorite vlogs. So the very first vlog that I actually did for my Central Florida vlogs for 2020, that is, would actually be in my Walt Disney World vlog. So basically, or something like that. So back in 2020, some of my earlier vlogs that I got to go ride the brand new Disney Skyliner for the very first time, as cool as that is. So it was something that I had always wanted to do since I first saw the construction on it back around the same time that Galaxy's Edge had started. So I was like, you know what, that would be really cool to go do. So over time, I not only watched Galaxy's Edge make progress, but I also watched the Skyliner take progress, and I knew eventually I had to come back to Central Florida just to go and ride the Skyliner. So back in early 2020, I basically came to Central Florida, and we decided to go park the car over at Disney Springs, and we took a bus over to one of the Disney resorts that connected to the Disney Skyliner, and we rode the Disney Skyliner around. Now I'm going to leave out the complete or all the part about how we got back to Disney Springs because that's irrelevant, and it was also a nightmare. But the point is, the Disney Skyliner was nice. There was the very first time I rode it, my expectations for it were very high, and when I first got on it, I was happy about the fact that yes, it was a very smooth ride, and the fact that it was very quiet. I was very surprised by that, but in a good way. I was very disappointed that there was no AC whatsoever. and it did stall from from time to time. It was also really neat just looking out all over Disney's Hollywood studios, for example, and seeing like how busy the park was. I definitely would say it's by far my favorite way to get around the parks, and I'm looking forward to it expanding in the future because I'm sure it will. Another vlog that I did back in 2020. This was something that my math teacher back in middle school had really wanted to do for years, and he always joked, but was kind of serious. Like we have, whenever we went to the Magic Kingdom, for example, he was always pointing at the Crystal Palace and saying, David, I would like to go to that buffet sometime. I think that sounds really good." And you know what? For years, I kept hearing him say that over and over again. I would see that place, and I'm like, I still want to try that out. And you know what? Just for him, finally, in early 2020, I had this was all before the pandemic, of course. This is because you're probably wondering, like, why would I go to Walt Disney World in 2020? Because I went before the pandemic hit, or officially anyway. So I went into the Crystal Palace and I really enjoyed it. I was, quite shocked. I was very impressed about the fact that they had the character meet and greets out. We got to interact with all the characters, and I'm letting you know I did YouTube all this stuff, and I also um have got a good amount of food. And it was another one of those places you pay, a small fortune for your meal, and then you get all the drinks you want for free. So that was great. So you could start out with like Coke, for example, and then you could be like, oh, I want chocolate milk later on, and they won't charge you additional money, which was nice. And then, of course, I always got water too. But I really enjoyed the experience. I'm really glad I did it. And you can actually see all the different interactions we had. Like you can watch everything from like Eeyore to Winnie the Pooh to Piglet and Tigger. Like you get to see how we interacted with all the characters. Eeyore was by far my favorite. So if you ever want to go through my Disney World vlogs and see how the character experience was, then go for it. And as I said, this was before the pandemic officially hit, so you will get to see everything pre-COVID and all that. So that was nice. um Trying to think here. Early 2020, I feel like I didn't really see anything significant at Legoland that year, but I know I did go. um I believe that was the same exact year that I did. However, though, I do remember early 2020. That was the very first time I ever stayed at Beach Retreat. Now, you're probably wondering, how did I get that? So, Legoland does something called a points based system, and this is a good kind of points based system. So, their employees basically get free points for like the longer you work there, the more points you earn. Eventually, you can redeem those points for really nice things. So, for TJ, for example, he could redeem his points for any of the hotels they already had open. The Pirate one was not open at the time, so he would have had to wait a year before he could have redeemed it for a night at that place. So TJ was like, "Hey, you want to stay at the Legoland hotel, or do you want to stay at a Beach Retreat? This would have been one night free." And I was like, shoot, I always want to stay at Beach Retreat. So he redeemed his points and he got us a free night. It was great. So we stayed Thursday, February 27th, 2020. I cannot believe I actually remember that, but I do. And we had just got back from Busch Gardens. We were sick, especially me. Like, oh my word. And we stopped at McDonald's. And of course, I got my Shamrock Shake. I actually just had one tonight. First one I've had since last year, not even joking. Around the time I was actually in Florida. Ha ha ha. But you know me, I always have to have at least one in Kentucky too. And we went to the one on Cypress Gardens Boulevard, heading back towards US 27. And I decided to get McNuggets and a Shamrock Shake. And I finally started feeling better. And I was like, okay, let's go ahead and head back to your place. We'll go pack up some stuff and we'll head over to the hotel for the night. So we packed up the stuff and, we went back to his place. We let the dog out for a little bit because he had a dog at the time. Wouldn't be surprised if he still does. And we went to the hotel, and I started the vlog literally at the light turning onto um, going towards a beach retreat. And if I remember correctly, I actually started the vlog when we first went to go check it out. This was before I had eaten dinner. And then I restarted it when we came back from dinner. By that point, you can probably tell I've already started to feel better, which is hilarious. I think I had just eaten dinner, and then we decided let's go check out the hotel, then go back to the house, and then come back because it wasn't that much of a drive. But anyway, it's here or there. The breakfast the next morning was amazing. Loved it. It was an all-you-can-eat breakfast buffet. I have the whole thing on YouTube. You have to go through my Legoland Florida vlogs though to go see it. So make sure you do. And then 2020 was also the very first time that I ever showed what Iron Gwazi was going to look like, which I believe opened the very next year. So I haven't been back to Busch Gardens in 3 years at this point. And of course, I still have not rode Iron Gwazi yet, unfortunately. So I have no idea how horrible it is or how good it is or whatever you want to call it. Pretty sure I could fit on it though. Not that I would want to really, but you know. But anyway, so that was pretty much like my major highlights for 2020. Um, I unfortunately I'm trying to remember 2020. Yeah, I had rode on yeah, that's right. That was Friday, February 20th, TJ's birthday. We did go to Universal. That was the last time before last September I had got on sorry, trying to remember the name of the ride. Oh yeah, him uh magical Hagrid's. Let's just go with Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventures, or just Hagrid's. That was back when they were allowed to push the restraint down, and I barely fit in. But that was the very first time I had rode that. I waited 2 hours for it. These days, done. That's just how much weight I've lost. It's crazy. But yeah, the very first time it was a struggle because I was like, that much bigger back then. A lot bigger. But anyway, moving on to 2021, when I finally did start vlogging. And also, I should mention back in 2020 was the very first time that I did fly on a plane to Florida for a vacation. So I thought that was kind of neat. And then, of course, that was the last time that before last September, that is, that I didn't have to wear a mask in an airport. As sad as that is, before and then all of 2021 and most of 2022. Sorry, not 2022, but most of 2020 you had to. By 2022, at least halfway through the year, you did not have to, and now we're in 2023. But anyway, and of course, back in 2020, I was under the impression that that Southwest stopped the whole free bag thing. So that's why I ended up going with Delta, and that ended up costing me a whole lot more than it should have. Kind of really wish I had gone with Southwest, but that's okay. You learn from your mistakes. Southwest has always been my favorite. So anyway, 2021, I had talked to my brother about it, and he agreed that he would like to go back to Central Florida again. He hadn't been in forever, so We packed up my car and we drove all the way down. I mean, he did scare the crap out of me super badly in Atlanta, but that's okay. It's in the past now. It's been almost 2 years. And as soon as we got closer, he got started getting in contact with his friends. And I first went and dropped him off at his friend's house. And by the time I rolled over to TJ's, it was like really late at night. But it was okay because it's not like TJ's, not a night owl or anything, and he was already expecting me. And it was a Friday when we arrived, and it's not like I was planning on doing anything the next day. So I actually started my vlogging the very next day. So my very first vlog in my actual Central Florida Vlogs playlist is called My First Time Back in Central Florida in 2021. It is a picture of me looking like I'm in awe or something, and TJ has that like evil smirk in his face, like he's plotting something. It's hilarious. So the whole point of the vlog is we decided we're going to go hit up one of our favorite places for breakfast. We're going to go up to Golden Corral. So we go to the Golden Corral in Winter Haven. The place has changed a lot, and I was, quite shocked. Both times I've been to Golden Corral in Winter Haven, they still require you to wear stupid, gloves while getting your food versus the one here in Kentucky. Florence does not require that at all. And I even questioned the employee about it last year when he and I went again. I was like, do I have to wear gloves while I'm getting my food? And the lady turned and looked at me. She goes, please. And I think to myself, holy crap, okay, whatever. So, we went into a Golden Corral. I showed everybody the huge amount of food I put on my plate because back then, it was like ridiculously overweight. And then we went over to the Auburndale Flea Market as usual. It's just a place that TJ and I go to all the time. Not even lying. I one time sold World's Finest Chocolate there all day long just for a prom. That wasn't even my own senior prom, but I still got to go. So that was hilarious. But my senior prom ended up being at the high school. It's okay though. I fell asleep at my senior prom. That's the even better part. And then a person said to me, "That's okay. I fell asleep at a Skillet concert." I'm like, "How?" I just want to know. So that was pretty much the very first vlog. That very night, I did my first time at Walt Disney World during the pandemic. It's me in Disney Springs wearing a face mask, looking like, what am I looking at? More or less. And I was, Disney had changed during the pandemic for me. So I basically got taken there by TJ and K, and we parked the car, and as soon as we got over to where you enter, they had everybody crowd through this whole health and screening area, and they were taking everybody's temperatures, and they were also making sure everybody was wearing a mask. And when we got over to World of Disney, there was a line that you had to get into, and it was like 15 minutes long, and everybody had to be 6 feet apart the entire time just to be able to get into the stinking store. It was so weird. I did not like it. It was, not normal. That was the best way to put it. And I was like, this is just, ugh. And the entire time I was at Disney World, which was actually um not the next vlog, but it was like around that time frame, like later on, like a couple of days later is the best way to put it. It was so quiet. It was just so weird. And like every now and then you would hear the Tom Kane, which is basically one of the guys on Star Wars Clone Wars. just constantly reminding everybody to keep your mask on. And we went over to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge that morning, and I easily got early-ish virtual queue for Galaxy. Sorry, for Rise of the Resistance. And as soon as we were done with that, we barely waited at all for Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run. We spent at least a couple of hours alone in Galaxy's Edge, and then we went over to Toy Story Lane. We did almost everything over there. We only waited 45 minutes for Mickey Maze Runaway Railway, but the line seemed so long because of the fact that, everybody had to be 6 feet apart. And I noticed that even with Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run, the line seemed so long because of the fact that everybody had to be 6 feet apart. It was so weird that they had to put people backstage. So I actually got to be backstage at Galaxy's Edge. I'm along with everybody else. And of course, you can't have your, phones out to take pictures or anything. I mean, you could have your phone out, but you couldn't take any pictures or anything because, you could get yourself into big trouble and whatnot. So, of course, I wasn't going to do that. But it was really neat to be back there. And, you can't say that, or I can't exactly say that's ever going to happen again. I mean, that was one of those rare occasions that guests were actually allowed back there. As far as the Universal ones, so we did go to Universal. So I did 2 different vlogs. So the one I did the Velocicoaster construction update. This was before I wrote it. The very next year, and of course, once again, Universal's like super dead, and we practically walked on almost everything. Had to wear a face mask everywhere. Got to get your temperature taken, the whole 9 yards. We got over to the other park, which I did a separate vlog for, and it was just so dead in there. And they literally had all the floats scattered throughout the entire park, and they just had employees just throwing beads out. There was no parade. There was none of that. I did not like it at all. I was just like, oh, I don't like this. Ugh. The night that we went to Disney, we went to a place called Manny's Original Chop House. In Polk County, thankfully, it is actually not, it was not, well, I shouldn't say it is, but it was not mandated that you had to be wearing a face mask anywhere in Polk County. But out of respect, I was still doing it, even though I didn't like it. And we went over to Manny's, and I don't even remember us waiting. We got there just before closing. It was just so quiet in there. I mean, that's not normal considering, like, last year, for example, we waited an hour. So 2 years ago, we barely waited, and then a year ago, we had to wait an hour. I mean, how did that work out? Because, of course, I had to go back again to go and YouTube the whole BOGO fajita thing, but I'll get into that later. Another vlog that I did down in Central Florida. So, of course, we had to celebrate TJ's 27th birthday, and I like the custom thumbnail. So TJ looks like super happy, and I'm just like, oh, why me? That kind of thing. And TJ cooked dinner that night, and I thought it was hilarious. We had these balloons, and they somehow escaped into the fan, and TJ spent like 5 minutes straight cutting all the balloons loose, and I decided to YouTube the whole thing because I thought it was so hilarious. And of course, TJ borrowed my phone to YouTube me, or Kay did, I don't know, bringing the cake out, so that was cool. The same day that I vlogged the Skyliner. Actually, no, there was so last year, I apologize. Excuse me. I had gone to Disney Springs to do another construction update. Of course, they had just opened up this NMM store, and I went and rode the Disney Skyliner again. And if I'm not mistaken, that's actually when that whole incident happened when we were trying to get back to Disney Springs, so we had to take the bus. But back in 2020, or well, back in 2021, I don't. Well, we did, but we had got to drive around everywhere. But anyway, I don't remember any of that. I noticed that some of my Central Florida vlogs are a little out of order. I'm just now noticing that myself. Also, back in 2021, I did an Eagle Ridge Mall COVID-19 update. So it wasn't necessarily a COVID-19 update. I happen to notice the mall is just like it's barely hanging on. If you ever wanted to know what the Eagle Ridge Mall in Lake Wales, Florida, it looks like, and I would not be surprised if it still looks like this to this day. It's dead. It's a ghost town. It's barely surviving. I don't know what holds the thing together. I'm waiting for the place to go bankrupt, honestly, for like the umpteenth time in a row. I also vlogged my very first Florida Strawberry Festival back in 2021. Back then, unfortunately, I was not able to serve myself strawberry shortcake like I was, say, 2020 or whatever, but it's whatever. And last year, I also went back to Legoland again. I got to film their 10th anniversary celebration, and I even showed the brand new Peppa Pig theme park. This vlog unfortunately does not have a lot of views because it's such a stinking long title. And that's when I finally showed everybody the BOGO fajita thing at Manny's. This vlog I really need to remove. It's called I'm Going on a Cruise for TJ's birthday, for his 30th birthday. I just removed it. And then I did another COVID-19 update at the Eagle Ridge Mall. Well, it was still a disaster at the time. And that was exactly a year ago. And I decided to show everybody my very first Japanese steakhouse on YouTube. So I showed everybody the entire dinner presentation. I thought that was really neat. And I also went back to Universal again last year. Now, of course, I went back to Universal twice last year, but the only one that I actually vlogged was the one in February where I did Mardi Gras, and I could not believe how intense the crowds had gotten in just a year. I was like, what is this? But of course, the one I'm most proud of is I finally rode Velocicoaster. After watching it grow or like being built for years, I was like super excited about, finally, riding Velocicoaster. And it was just, really neat. So if you ever wanted to know what my thoughts, original thoughts on it were, that would be your vlog to go to. I finally wrote Icebreaker. So I had heard about this back at IAPA in 2018, and it was really neat to go and ride that one. I absolutely love the ride. I would go and ride it again in a heartbeat. So everything that involves Icebreaker, and also this is my very first full SeaWorld Orlando vlog. Like the whole entire park. If you ever wanted to see the entire park, this would be the one to go to. This one I'm surprised didn't get a lot of views, but it's probably because it's such a stinking long title. And this one is called, and if I remember correctly, actually the NMM store one I was talking about earlier, that was actually from 2021. Now that I think about it. But anyway, the What's New Walt Disney World this week, 50th anniversary celebration and mask mandate lifted. So that was last February, and this one's a long one because of the fact that it's basically Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Magic Kingdom all rolled into one entire vlog. Literally. And you get a little bit of the Tron Light Cycle coaster construction update from a year ago. Of course, now it's going to be open in less than 2 months, so that's very exciting. And they're already doing media previews, as crazy as that is. Um, Also did celebrate TD's 20th birthday at Whispering Kitty Cafe. This is probably my most recent. Actually, this is my most recent Whispering Canyon Cafe vlog. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it is my most recent. My favorite one is actually the one back in 2019, which is under my Disney Resort vlogs. And then, last but not least, the only other one. Well, actually, I did a lot of vlogs. I mean, I did a lot of vlogging back last September, but But anyway, the last one I did back in early 2022 was what's new at Disney Springs this week, 50th anniversary merchandise and Salt and Straw Construction. It's basically a Californian ice cream company that has come down to Disney Springs. So if you ever want to go check it out, it should be open by now. I don't see why it wouldn't be. That was a year ago. So last September, I did a lot of vlogs as well. I filmed my dad and I's flight to Orlando back in September. I also vlogged getting on the Skyliner again last September because I didn't get to do it in February, if I remember correctly. I also did my very first Food and Wine Festival vlog in years, and that was last September. And the one I'm most proud of last year, be by far, I finally wrote Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, and I have the whole thing on YouTube except for the ride. But I do at least have everything, but except the me being on the ride. And there you have it. That is my current up to date Central Florida vlogs playlist, pretty much all in one shot. And look at the time, is beyond. I'm like really late leaving to go take my shower. My hair feels so greasy right now. It's not even funny, which is weird because I showered last night. So I will see you guys in the next vlog. And always remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. If I don't somehow do a YouTube video or a vlog on Saturday, which I'm going to do my best this time since Katie goes off earlier on Monday next week, and will probably want me to come over for a little bit, then I'm going to definitely do my best, my absolute best to do a vlog on Saturday, especially since she's working late. So I'll see you guys in the next vlog, and always remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Have a great night. Peace out.